So you're curious about Paladins Battlegrounds. You've heard that a brand new hero FPS is coming to the Battle Royale Battlegrounds genre, whatever you want to call it. You, me, and the rest of the world are also excited, but we have some questions, and personally, I want to go through some of those. The 11 pros and cons I see about the Paladins Battlegrounds mode. And with the eventual announcement of the Q1 release date, I'm sure everyone will be waiting with bated breath as to how they tackle all of the problems, the questions, and of course the excitement that's been building up towards this release. Now it's time to get into the list and start with number 1, which is a pro, and it's that abilities are coming to the Battle Royale Battlegrounds genre. You like Paladins, you don't like Paladins. You love TF2, you don't like TF2. You're a fan of Overwatch, you're not a fan of Overwatch, but you gotta admit it's pretty exciting. Being able to not only use that stereotypical FPS gameplay, but adding abilities into it creates a whole different dynamic that the BR genre isn't quite used to, and in fact is rather unique in terms of adding a layer of depth that players will be able to dive into that other games currently don't really provide. With the BR games that are currently out in the population, players are attracted to different ones for different reasons, and I think this will attract a large group of people just because of the abilities alone. I mean, it's not just how well a person can aim anymore, it's how well they can aim and what abilities are kind of given priority in this situation that you're fighting in. Maybe you're a Nara, you're a frontline, you love that, and you choose to take a fight inside a house. That's going to be to your advantage versus a Victor who maybe wants to take a fight in an open space. All of this adds a layer of depth to the combat and the dynamic of who will win given this engagement and where it's taking place. The number 2 thing on my list, which is a con, is that the difficulty to balance these abilities as well as the FPS combat surely will be a tiring task for the developers. And we know this from experience. Nobody gets things right always, and especially on the first time. So there will be those woes, I think, that come through and challenges that developers have to definitely navigate through as best as they can in terms of making sure that a certain champion's abilities, given the wide open spaces or giving the way that this BR mode plays out in Paladins, actually is fair and doesn't kind of tip the balance too far in one direction of being either unplayable or super good. Certain champions will be better than others. That's something you should prepare yourself for. It's something I've already prepared myself for, and just expect heading into this. Maybe you're a Terminus main and he's just not that good in a Battlegrounds mode majority of the time. Maybe he's really good in that top 1v1 situation and the circle closes in on a house, but maybe other than that, he isn't that great. We'll have to see. Number 3 on the list is that team combat is a focus. At HRX 2018, the only playable demo was with 4 people on your team, and I think that's a very interesting take on the BR genre. Squads tend to be the most tactical form of any BR, considering the fact that you have 4 people who are all communicating, ideally trying to beat another squad of 4 people who are pooling their resources of intelligence and of course gameplay and combat skill to try and be the ultimate victor. And no, the other kind of victor, not the Russian kind. I personally find BR games a lot more fun when I am playing with someone else. I may not be the only person who feels that way, and I doubt I am, and some people may really crave that solo experience, but ideally if I could play with 2 to 3 to 4 of my friends every single time I played a BR game, I would, and I think that speaks for probably a lot of people in my audience and probably a lot of people on the internet. If you have a game that's focused around that and really geared towards making that gameplay a lot of fun, I think that's going to just mean everybody wins. But don't fret, if you're a solo queuer, I have confidence that duos and solos will not only be a part of the game, at least I hope so, but also will be fine-tuned so that those are fun as well. We just haven't seen that to the public, so I'm not sure if that will be at launch or if that is something that's in the plans currently. Moving on to number 4, this is a huge pro for Paladins Battlegrounds. Everybody gets to start with a weapon. I mean, how often in BR games do you go into a house and the room you go into has absolutely nothing, and then the brother who goes into the other room gets the best weapon in the game? I mean, isn't that fun? Honestly, it is kind of fun, and I'm not even hating on that style. I think the randomization is what makes it interesting and what makes each start of a game so tense and exciting. You don't know what you're going to get, but I also think that's a huge pro to the fact that Paladins Battlegrounds will always give you a chance to have a fight at the beginning of the game and never be in this position where someone has a weapon and you don't, and it's basically just, okay, finish me off so I can get into my next game. Moving on to number 5, this is a con that I think people are considering, and I think it's worth bringing attention to. It's the population split that may happen with Paladins Battlegrounds. What about the game I've fallen in love with? I don't want to see that go. I'm not ready to give up on Siege. I'm not ready. If the original population of Paladins went up and split into Paladins Battlegrounds, Battlegrounds plus the normal arcade modes, now plus the normal classic modes, I would agree that yeah, that's a lot of population splitting, and I would hope to see the stats and that that's working out for everyone. However, I think Paladins Battlegrounds has a chance to bring in quite a few new people who are interested in the BR genre, who are interested in Paladins, have seen it before, but maybe not had a reason to play it, and I think it will obviously bring in new players. So ideally, this isn't about taking away populations from other groups, it's about adding a new population that's going to enjoy this mode and maybe even help to filter out other modes in Paladins. Although I'm being very optimistic about this, you could also be pessimistic and not be wrong. We don't have any of the stats yet, we'll have to wait and see, but from what I've garnered in terms of the reception of the videos on my channel and also the way that a lot of people are reacting to it, it feels like this is just going to bring in more players rather than separating a queue or separating the population as is. Moving on to number 6, another pro, it's mounts. As you guys know, this map is 300 times the size of any Paladins map in the game right now, and so that mount and being able to cover that distance is extremely important in not only the looting phase, but during mid-game and even in combat. Just for instance, here's a cool interaction I had with Talus the other day in a playtest. I put my Rune of Travel down, then mounted up. I was out of line of sight of the enemy that we were engaging because I had just crested a hill. I went all the way around to the backside, fired onto their support, took him down, and then pressed F and Rune of Travel back to where I was before I had jumped on my mount. And imagine if I was a Nara, right? If I did that same move, I would be right in the thick of things in a great spot where I'm at an advantage versus being far away where I would be at a disadvantage to some champions like a Leon or a Cassie. It creates some really cool engagement tools, and I'm very excited to see how mounts develop in relationship to Paladins Battlegrounds. Moving on to number 7, a big pro for me in Paladins Battlegrounds is the implementation of items. Currently, there are 4 item slots in Paladins Battlegrounds, but who knows if there will be more or less when the game actually launches. Having these item slots significantly change the way that your champion plays in the game, allowing you to do anti-healing to big groups of enemies, or just have double damage or double armor that makes you that much easier to take down targets or that much harder to kill. The items feel meaningful, they make a difference in the way that you play, and they also further your chances of winning by a significant amount, so looting is important. I also like the way that the items aren't just standard armor or standard health or standard damage, they're a combination of unique traits, which really makes you make a decision. Do I want more movement speed or do I want more mount speed with this double damage from this item? Well, this one's going to give me a little bit more armor and take away from that damage, so what do I go for here? More defense or offense? It creates some really interesting conversations. You gain some things and you lose others, and that's always an interesting decision for people to make when they're playing or when they're watching other people play. Moving on to number 8, this is also a pro that I'm really excited about, and it's that the pacing encourages those who engage in fights earlier. No more hiding in bathrooms, Mr. Campy Pants. You're not going to have fun in Paladins Battlegrounds. This game favors the bold, and those who are willing to engage in combat, and the ones who come out of that combat alive are going to have a significant advantage over those who just wait and try to camp out in the middle of a circle. A lot of this is due to the way the airdrops currently function as well, because those are now accessible to everyone because you don't need to have a car to be able to make it to that side of the map. Everyone just press shift, mounts up onto their horse, and is able to go and contest that, and a great engagement will unfold. Although some people do like camping in BR games, I have a friend who personally says that if you've seen me when I've taken you down, then I've done it wrong. He loves the sniper life and hiding in bushes. I'm just going to say that this may not be the game for you, and I think a lot of people are going to be happy about that, but I think some people, yes, may not be your cup of tea. Either way, I'm happy about it. Moving on to number 9, which is a con, I think Battlegrounds have had a tough time getting started in esports. Honestly, I've found myself very unwilling to watch a lot of Battleground esports or BR esports. It just hasn't been interesting for me. I don't like the spectator. I don't think the commentary has been great in terms of telling good stories and focusing on the action in a cohesive manner that makes me care, unlike so many other sports that I love watching. And that's not to the fault of, I think, any company that hasn't done a good job. I think it's just a difficult thing to figure out. 100 players, 100 different stories. Which one are you going to tell? Who gets the right time? It's very difficult, and I haven't really seen it done well as far as one single production. And this isn't really a negative about Paladins Battlegrounds. It's just a negative in general about the Battlegrounds market, which is so big in so many areas except really esports. Having said all that, I do think there's some opportunity to grow it. I think someone just needs to spend a lot of time on it, and with a lot of esports experience within Hi-Rez for Smite with 5 years, Paladins for 2 years, and obviously millions of dollars and tons of tournaments executed with in-house talent and of course in-house production, I think there is a good chance that Paladins Battlegrounds may be able to find a solution that helps push that narrative of the industry in the right direction. Not saying it'll be perfect, but I am hopeful that there will be a solution that's figured out that drives more esports viewership to BR games in general. Now we've got 2 more left, and number 10 is a big one. This is a pro for some and a con for others, and it's the fact that every time you spawn into a new Paladins Battlegrounds game, you get a different selection of champions. But I want to practice one champion all the time. I want to get really good at playing with Drogos or Victor or Strix when I'm in Paladins Battlegrounds. I don't want to have to hope that my favorite champion is going to be somebody I could play. Totally see that. However, on the other side of things, the variability of what champion you could play is going to make for some very interesting matchups, and also is going to encourage people who like to have champion diversity. And if you're like me, a jack of all trades and a master of none, you'll be able to thrive in this kind of constant variability as an environment in Paladins Battlegrounds. But if you do want to get better at a certain champion like snipers, or you want to practice Drogos, or for whatever reason you want to get really good at Eevee, it is going to be tough because you won't guarantee that that champion's available every time you log into play. However, overall, when I think about this moves more into the pro category than a con for me personally, and it's because I love that different matchups form based on the randomization. It could be a Grox, Saris, a Nara Fernando versus maybe a sniper matchup the next game where there's Strix and Kinessa available. Whether snipers, flankers, or tanks are all available is going to change the pace and the way the fights go, and it's going to make for a different playing experience, which I think is really fun, and I'm looking forward to as one of my pros overall in Paladins Battlegrounds. Thanks for watching this video. We've still got one more to go, but I want to encourage you all, if you did enjoy, to keep on watching, check out another of my Battlegrounds videos, or just subscribe and stay tuned for more uploads that I'll be doing throughout the week. Now, as I begin the 11th minute of this video, let's get into the 11th pro or con of Paladins Battlegrounds, and surprise, it's gonna be a pro from Positive Raynday. As a consumer, I love that I'm getting more choices as to how I spend my time in the BR mode. In my other video, I joked that Super Smash Bros, Dragon Ball Z, Call of Duty, Destiny 2 were all coming out with Battlegrounds or Battle Royale modes. And people kind of laughed, but also people kind of said, whoa, that would be awesome, I'd totally play that. That's me. I'm a consumer at heart. Though I work in the video game industry, I'm always excited for new options to play because I don't have to play them. If I think something is not cool or not interesting, then I don't spend my time there. And I suggest as a consumer, you only spend time on things that you find worthwhile. In life, you are going to get hit by people telling you what's the right thing to do, where you should go to school, what you should do for a living, and where you should live and who you should live with. If you spend time listening to what everyone else says, you are going to run yourself dry, and you are going to be crazy when it's all said and done. So do what you want to do, and more choices to be able to do that means that you have more options to be able to have fun, to enjoy your life, and to enjoy gaming, which is why we're all here in the first place. So bring it on. Paladins Battlegrounds, Pokemon Battle Royale, heck, Barbie and Ken's Last Doll Standing. I'll take it. Thanks for watching, guys. Never give up, never stop gaming, and I'll see you all next time.